I almost sold this thing a week after I bought it. Hey guys, welcome back. This is my long-term review on the Bronica S2A. I bought this thing about a year and a half ago. You know, little did I know when I was kind of first starting to use it, it would become such an important camera to me. And I probably said this in an earlier video. When I first started using it, you know, it was hard to get used to the focal length of the lens. It seemed a little too wide for me, especially in the square format. You know, 6x6, you know, I feel like a lot of people love it or hate it. I'm not like a die-hard 6x6 shooter, but I think I said this before, I really do kind of enjoy working with the square format. I think it brings up lots of different challenges. It's just another way that kind of pushes me into a certain type of image making. You know, it can be really difficult but also very rewarding. But anyways, let's get into the camera a little bit more. Let's go into ergonomics. The reason why I bought this camera is because I wanted to try square format. The second reason being that I had only owned an RB67 up to this point. That camera is huge and carrying it around is fine. It's okay, but it's kind of a lot, especially if you're making videos. So when I started seeing these around, I was kind of really attracted to them. When I did the research, it was like, you know, Japan's answer to the Hasselblad. I don't know if that's really what it is, but either way, it seemed like a compact package that could be a little bit more easy to carry around. I really like the styling, even though it's super, I think I described it as like a 57 Chevy. It's super retro looking. It's still, I don't know, it holds up. The design holds up, even like the stainless steel chrome stuff. For some reason, it doesn't look that old. It's small. It's not that lightweight, but it's lighter than an RB. For me, it's really easy to hold in my hands. It's easy to focus up. The general kind of function of it works pretty well. It's really robust. It feels very strong. I carry this thing around on my shoulder all the time when I'm making videos, and you know, put it down on the train seat next to me, and I'm never really worried about it. Like for instance, like the dark slide in this thing is thick. Like the dark side in my Mamiya is so thin and super like creased up and warped. It's crazy. This thing is like, it's kind of dangerous. It's like pointed to the edges and it's sharp, dangerous. And I also take it off. Like when I start shooting, I take it out and I just leave it out because it interferes with the way that this strap works. So if I want to hang this on my shoulder, then I gotta take the dark slide out. Kind of hard to put back in. One note though about changing the aperture. If you are at infinity on this lens, it's pretty hard to get in here and turn the aperture ring. You know, if you have huge fingers, then maybe you're gonna have a problem. Otherwise, it never really bothers me. The viewfinder is really good. It's very clear, like, you know, any medium format kind of SLR viewfinder is always going to blow you away when you first look in it. This one as well, it's awesome. That's the one thing about this camera is like the shutter speed lever feels a little bit, not grinding metal on metal, but doesn't inspire confidence. It's not so bad, but could be a little smoother. The one thing though, and lots of people will say this, when you wind it up and it gets to the stop and like engages the shutter, it feels like it's breaking. It is really intense. Like you hit a hard stop and you have to push through it and it sounds like something broke. It's pretty intense. Yeah, it's kind of, you gotta force it through and it feels strong. It's like a big pushback, but maybe it doesn't feel that robust in that way. And then this camera kind of has a famous shutter slap, which is pretty intense. I've heard like so many different things. Some people are really worried about it making the images shaky. Some people say it's designed specially so it's not going to make the images shaky. I've actually had not that many problems with motion blur in images at slower speeds on this camera, so I don't know. Big sound. The way you take this film back off is interesting. You know, it has two little latches here and here that hook on the bottom of this, and then it connects into these upper latches here. It doesn't feel that solid when you're putting it on, but it's solid once you get it on there. That said, I've not really lined it up so well and got it on here and almost dropped it just because it's a little bit awkward. It's like barely hanging on, but in the same time it feels really strong. It's kind of contradictory, but the way you get this thing off is by pushing the dark slide in. I mean, that also, you barely push it in and it comes off. That's another good reason why I take the dark slide out and just leave it out once I start shooting. In regard to this film back, kind of an interesting thing. I really like the film back and the way it comes out. It's actually super easy to load, and I like that it just uses this kind of like flimsy metal so you can just push it down and get the film loaded in there. I actually really like this design. It's really nice. I think it adds to its smallness, its compactness. So, and when you put it in, it's like really satisfying the way it clicks in. So let's get into the lenses. Well, let's say lens, because I only have one. I've got the Nikkor 75mm at f2.8, which is, I guess, a pretty standard lens on this camera. I think when you usually see these Bronica S2As in stores, they'll have that lens on them. That said, like, the other lenses, though, are pretty affordable, and they're really good. I mean, they're very, very sharp. They have really nice color. The image quality is there. It's good. It's awesome. Like I said, I had a hard time with the 75mm at first, but I've gotten used to it. I kind of know how to frame it up better. I know what it's good for capturing. I've gotten some awesome shots with this lens. I don't know what it is about this camera. There are just sometimes when I get my film back, I'm just like, wait, I took this photo? Yeah. Maybe it's the fact that the camera kind of, because it is pretty easy to use compared to like the RB67. Maybe it's because the ease of use. Maybe it's just the way that it focuses. It's like kind of like a normal focus ring. Maybe it's the viewfinder. Maybe it's the square format. I don't know, or the lens image quality, but some of the photos I get back, this camera's produced some of my favorite photos. I will say there are some cons about this lens in particular. It's got some bad vignetting. For instance, I went out to the countryside and took a bunch of photos of like over a river and the big wide open sky, which is something I don't usually shoot that much because I'm usually in compact, closed in, canyon-like Tokyo, so you don't see the sky very much. But when you've got big open sky, and I probably shot all those things at f8, still the vignetting in the corners is pretty bad. So, it is what it is, but it's definitely noticeable, and it seems like stopping down doesn't help that much. I could be wrong, and maybe people could chime in about that, but I found the vignetting to be a little bit distracting. Some people like it, but I kind of find it distracting. So I've got my notes written down in a book. Again, this, like any medium format lens camera combo, the depth of field is really shallow, especially at 2.8. Like, that's why I don't use it that often. That said, when I'm out at night or it's like getting darker and I just need that light, I feel like I'm gonna have to use it. It's really sharp still, but the depth of field is just very, very strong. So just something to be aware of. But yeah, overall, it's a fantastic lens. One other thing I'll say, this strap, I know straps for these are really hard to find, and at least for this camera, for the S2A, and I'm not sure about the whole time it was produced, But the strap that I found is for Bronica EC, and it fits on the S2A. So if anybody's looking and you find an EC strap, give it a try. I mean, mine was only 20 bucks, so it wasn't like a big risk. I can't guarantee it though, because the guys at the camera store looked it up for me on the internet, and they weren't even sure at that point. They were kind of like, I don't know, you should try it. I didn't have the camera on me. I brought it home, and it was like, boom, it worked. And yeah, so anyways, overall, you know, it's a great camera. I love the build quality. I love the image quality. You know, there's a few quirks with it. I hope I don't ever lose the back off. I hope I get some other lenses for it and try some other stuff out with it. But, you know, overall, I love this camera. I can't believe I was so close to like selling it right after I bought it. Shows, you know, maybe you should kind of live with something for a little while before you discount it or throw it out. I highly recommend one of these if you can get them. That's the other thing. They are extremely affordable, especially in today's camera, like used camera market. I'm still seeing these around for about $400 in Japan. 400 bucks for a camera that produces images that are just like outstanding. It's kind of like a no-brainer. Especially, yeah, if you're just starting out with medium format, I think it's a fantastic kind of first camera buy. And you know, the 6x6, yeah, you could hate it, but if you don't try, you don't know. So anyways, totally recommend it. Thanks again for watching, you guys, and I'll catch you next time. Bye bye.